First of all, Ma, thank you for being here. I'm really grateful. Thank you for making out the time. It's been ages. The last time I saw you was in the Department of Political Science in Unizik. I think that's 7 years ago or 8 years ago now. How have you been, Ma? How has life been going on with you?
I'm fine. There's so many challenges, but
Yeah.
I give thanks to God
Yeah,
for every life, every day, waking up, being healthy.
Yeah.
We give thanks. It's all gratitude to God.
Yeah. For those who don't know you, Ma, please, do you mind taking as much time as you want to introduce yourself for the audience out there who are not in music or political science?
There's nothing much to talk about myself except that I'm Miss Nkolika Obianyo.
Dr. Nkoli
It's
Obianyo.
not yet a doctor.
Okay.
Because I have challenges with my project. I lost some of my work in a computer crash, but I'm trying to get them back and tidy up. And I majored in comparative politics. I'm a senior lecturer in the university. By the grace of God, I'm alive.
Thank you, Ma. You know, like I was saying, when I was in Unizik, you were my favorite lecturer. I think I've said that to my friends so many times.
Your mom said so.
Yeah, I loved your passion, your dedication. I mean, it was obvious in a sea of inefficiency, in a sea of poor lecturing, in a sea of poor, you know what I mean, like bad lecturers, really, like people that they don't even love teaching. Sometimes they sleep with their students. When they teach, you can see that they lack the passion or the will to even be there. They're just there because they want the money. You just stood out. It was obvious that you liked what you did and you still love what you're doing. And my question would be, what made you the way you are? Why are you this uncompromising, disciplined lecturer? Was it your upbringing? Was it a critical junction in your life? Is this how you've been since day one, or at some point were you like, okay, something needs to change, or what was it really, more?
They say life is made up of nature and natural. Upbringing, I think, contributed immensely to the way I am, and probably my own makeup too as a person. But I have parents that are uncompromising in terms of discipline,
Yes.
in terms of honesty, in terms of contentment, in terms of doing things right, from childhood, and in terms of looking up to God and trusting God in whatever you're doing. I think that helped a lot in molding me. And I would say I was fortunate in terms of the kind of teachers I've had from primary school who about the same kind of thinking. And then even in the university, I had very beautiful lecturers that are uncompromising, both in terms of discipline, in terms of content, in terms of being passionate about what they do. I can mention as many of them as possible: Professor Sobio, Professor Nnoli, and so on, Professor Michael Lisa, late Miriam Ikejiani, and so on. So I think all these factors, how somehow shaped the personality I have and the commitment I have to things. My mom in particular will tell you that nothing beats contentment in life. What you don't have, you shouldn't be, worried about it. It's not yet your lot, because what belongs to you will always come if you work hard for it.
Yes.
And that has been, and then of course, I can't fail to mention, by the principle in which I live, in the knowledge of truth I stand. What matters in life is truth and honesty, and trusting God and doing His will. So if you have a goal to be back home in paradise one day, you have no other passion than to do things right. Most of the times we pray, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And the question one should be asking oneself is, what you're doing carrying that impression of God's will being done on earth? If the answer is in the negative, then you're doing something wrong. But if it's in the affirmative, then you keep marching on the road you are on, even if you are alone on that road. And in these days of bandwagon effect, do everything every other person, is now difficult for people who are standing aright. Sometimes making them feel that they're unsure of their stand in life. But the saying goes that if you think you're doing the right thing, even if you are alone in that road, move on, because it will lead you to the right destination. And that's what guides me, nothing else.
I mean, from like I said, it was obvious to see. Like I remember, I think in my 3 years in Unizik, it was just yourself and Professor Ebo that stood out for me. And it's heartbreaking to see that a lot of students go through that department, and not just with political science. I would say in most federal universities in Nigeria, really, is a symptom that you see in most universities. Maybe perhaps private universities are different, but in most federal and state universities, you see this dearth of quality lecturers or teachers, and it's not there. And you mentioned the bandwagon effect and the pressure. Do you sometimes feel that pressure to belong, that pressure to compromise, that pressure to sort, or to do you because
I think I passed that stage long time in life.
yeah.
Even when I came into Unizik, my salary was not up to 5,000, but I never sold handouts. I didn't take money from students. I joined buses with students to come to school and go home. And I didn't feel there's anything wrong with that, So, as I said, my upbringing taught me that what you don't have, you don't hunger for. You keep yourself within the limits of what you can afford. And with that, I'm fine. I never felt out of place. I know myself. I know what is inside my head. I can hold my own anywhere. So I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
Even if everybody has a car and I don't feel bothered by it.
Yeah.
I even feel happier walking. Most of the time, why are you walking around? You don't have a car. I say, well, I have, but I don't feel like driving.
Yeah.
And I'm walking. Walking is healthy.
Yeah.
So why not? So I've never felt pressured. But as you said, sometimes you're made to look bad.
Yes.
They said that uncompromising woman that had not, half of the students in political science are not graduating because of her and so on. Provided I know I'm in the right, I'm not shaken by such comments or attitudes or fortunately for me, some students who thought I was wicked when they were in school now get out into the world and write me and said, please, thank you for all those. It's now we are coming to the recognition of the things you tell us about life.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you are the way you are. I'm now appreciating you, So that kind of feedback even strengthens my conviction in the way I am and the things I do. I don't get out of my way failing any student or passing someone because we are friends. Those of them that are close to me know that you do your work, I give you your marks you deserve. Most times you don't score a student low because you want the student to fail, but it wasn't enough for him to get to the next stage. So it is in love that he goes to look at the work again a second time. And then get that which he lost the first time. And some of them are appreciative of that.
Yes.
I've heard comments, some have spoken in public forums like this, that they failed this woman's courses several times, but by the time they pass, they're happy that she failed them.
Yeah.
Because they learned something which they could not have if they were just dashed the marks. And with that, I'm confident on the road I walk. I don't go about either trying to, suppress or, I allow students to be themselves in class, speak their mind, feel free. If you don't like your score, you are free to ask for a remark.
Yes.
I've always told the university that encourage students to ask for what? Remark of their papers. I can even show you your paper and that of the person that had a higher score than you, so you can compare, So that transparency, I use that as a weapon against any kind of criticism. Everything is laid out in the open. And that's me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you said that, because when I went abroad for my studies, you're the only person I could point to, you and Professor Ebo, that I could see the standard was the same as those abroad. Because one thing that happens in Nigeria is that you're just, what they tell you to do in exam is just tell us what the lecturer told you. Don't critique, don't analyze. And when I went to the UK, I struggled a little bit because I was still applying that same system in the UK. But it was different. So if you look at my transcript of my foundation year, my year one, it was not excellent results at all. For my year two, I had to relearn everything again. I had to forget everything I learned about Nigerian system of education and start criticizing, begin to analyze issues. And I was like, wow, this is what you and Igbo were trying to instill in us, but
be original.
Exactly, but the rest we are just telling us to regurgitate. If we say A is A, tell us A is A. Don't try to tell us how
No. That is wrong foundation. Actually, recently I was talking to students when I asked them to give me definitions, and you could see effort to regurgitate someone's, and I asked the person, do you understand what you have just regurgitated? He can't explain it. I say, when you are giving me something, try to see whether you can explain what you have just said to a child of 2 years.
Wow.
If you can't, then you too don't understand it.
Yes.
Otherwise, you should be able to see in pictures what you are saying. So that shows an understanding yourself before you can give it to another person. And so with that kind of mindset, even if you're reading a work, if you can't understand it yourself, you can't relate.
Of course.
So the originality, and that is, once that originality comes, that's when you can now even think of a critique.
Yes.
Because you may now see a loophole which the author have not seen. But the idea of just telling students A, B, C, D, give me what I gave you, is not the best. And I'm worried because today the standard has even gone lower.
Wow.
Completely low, so low that in the last exam, I think there's a question asking students about impediments, write the impediments, and third-year students don't know the meaning of impediments.
Wow.
And it is worrisome.
Wow.
Not to talk of if you put the question in an argumentative manner where they can come out original, it is complete disaster. And you keep wondering, how will this set of people get back and recycle the system, come into the system and become the new teachers in future? If right now, and the idea of what I call the project factory has made it worse. Students can no longer write essays by themselves. They pay people to do it. If you catch them and try to put them on then you don't want them to graduate. And then AI has even complicated it.
Yeah. ChatGPT.
You give them question in the exam. They come in with their phones and ask the AI to give them an answer. You ask them to write something, AI write. That is the death of the human brain if that happens. If that is allowed to happen, that will kill originality, that will kill the human brain completely. Because how does the human brain work?
You can't think for yourself.
The more you challenge it, the faster it becomes, the better it becomes, the thinking becomes better, becomes finer, and so on. Now you have something thinking for man. For me, I mentioned it in a question wrote out by IPSA in a Facebook. I told them point blank, this is not good for academic. This is not good for the human society. Yes, it can help in searching out information. Of course, but now doing essays for you, there should be a limit.
Of course, yeah.
That's my thinking.
No, I do agree. I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot on this, but I have to ask you, why do you think other lecturers are not like you? Because it's obvious that what you're doing is the best. I mean, you're the standard. I don't want to sound patronizing, but you're the gold standard for me. Like
we have different faces and different personalities, so no two people.
Of course, but I mean, like, it's obvious that what you're doing is working. You've just said yourself that people that have gone abroad write to you and thank you. Myself as well. I always tell anybody that wants to listen that you're number one for me. Like, no other person, apart from my lecturer in Hall University and one other, like, you're still ranked number one for me. The passion was there. But the rest, I'm like, why are they not keen in? Is it that they're so lackadaisical, they don't care? because they can see that this is working. If you want a productive society, what you're doing should be
I can say there are others who are good, who are like that. They may not all be in political science, but a good number of lecturers in
very few
Nigerian universities are not bad. And they have the passion. They are doing the right thing. Most of them are my friends. I can mention quite a number. In political science, I'm being encouraged by a few young ones who have joined us, who are insisting that the right things be done. And you start early to shape your character and let people know what you stand for.
Yes.
And I must continuously thank my parents for the way I am and the upbringing we had. My father, there is no halves. For my father, there is no halves. It's either you are in or you're out. You merit something, you get it. You don't merit it, you don't get it. Okay? Yes. So that already he will let you know that you have every opportunity. But if you don't want to make use of the opportunity, it's your call. He's not ready to see anybody, either in the university or in any school, to help you in any form, even when he had the privileged position to do so. He does not compromise standard. And he will tell you that is his own upbringing at DMJS, where he studied. He will always tell you about that discipline. My mom will say, quote a book they call Azundo. I've never seen that book. Onye ololo agoro, olili agonia, meaning if you don't want to walk, you should not attempt eating, because one comes before the other. So if we begin to nurture in our younger ones the value of contentment, the value of honesty, the value of hard work, I think those are values now lacking in Nigeria, where a 16-year-old wants to have so many mansions and upstairs a brand new vehicle and so on. It does not work that way. Life is not like that. Life comes in stages and in phases, and contentment is the key. If you're not content over 5 naira, you will not be content over 500,000. So the issue is not how much. Recently, there was a post at the social media of a young man who was driving keke, and someone forgot close to 15 million or so, and he returned it. This is the kind of value we should all pursue to, allow our younger ones imbibe. Everything is not about money. What you don't have today, you don't need. The ones you need will come if you trust God. And that's the way I look at life. So nothing shakes me. I told somebody this morning, I fear nobody except God. So once I know I'm in the right over something, I'll stand by it. There are no two sides of it. It's either you're on the left or you're on the right. You don't. Apart from honesty, contentment, like you mentioned, what other things can we do to solve these issues? Or let me just go back and say it this way, right? What challenges, first of all, do you think that plague our system? So, for example, I want to talk about sorting. I also like to talk about sex for grades as well. And I know it's difficult for you because you're in the system, so it's gonna be a bit hard for you to be 100% open with me and critique it the way I want you to. I will.
But please, I would want you to go in deep on this. You see,
the problem is there is a complete breakdown currently in Nigeria, and I blame the family. The first time I invigilated JAMB in Unizik, parents almost stoned me for refusing them access to their words to bring in answers to some of the questions, which I didn't know how they got outside. And I insisted that not such thing will happen in that hall. After that, I stopped invigilation for JAMB. How do many of our parents behave towards their children? What do they sell to them as right or wrong? There was a conference we attended at Ouagadougou in 2010. And in that conference, I mentioned that I think African countries, if they can, in order to show up the values in the system, women who can afford to stay home should be allowed to stay home, and government should give them allowances. I called it housewife domestic allowance. And it was brought over because they put it in the communique. I said that raising a child is a big national duty. Staying home and raising children is a big national duty, because these are people that will turn out to become the leaders of tomorrow we are talking about. But when you leave them to whoever to look after, their mom don't know where they are, their father don't know what they're doing, everybody is looking for money. You think that raising a child means buying them the good things of life. It's far from it. And so from day one, the child meets the parents only at night with few minutes before sleep. In the morning, he takes off, goes to the morning nursery school. At early as 3-year-old, 2-year-old, they're already in school. Doing what? Actually. So we must go back to the family. There was a time President Clinton said something like that. Bringing back the family and the family values, so that parents will know their children, teach them the right thing. By the time they come into the university, you don't even know them. We have had cause to talk to some parents, and some of them will break down crying. I said, this is not a crying thing. You must sit down with your child and speak to that child. Giving them money and throwing them to the university as if this is the upbringing place is not the right thing. Know your child and train that child. Because those basics he came with from home helps. That's number one. And then, of course, the teachers. But a child with no moral background and comes in and eventually become a lecturer, what are you expecting?
Of course.
What will you expect? You dish out what is inside. And most of the ones joining the universities are people from that level who had no proper home bringing. The background they had was weak.
No foundation.
They also came from probably institutions where paying for marks was the order of the day. The day he becomes a lecturer, you think it's the normal thing to do. You demand students pay. Students meet me, and so on. And I preach in class all the time. If you're sure of yourself, you don't need to give a farthing to anybody to pass. Insist on getting your script remarked if you think you were. Oh, some of them will say, oh, but they will gang up. I say, nobody gangs up. That's in your imagination. Come to some of us, we are ready to protect you. But the harassment is not only one-sided. I want to mention that. Students also exploit the situation. So what do you want me to do? Anything you ask me to do. What does that mean? You're angling for something.
Yes.
Some even who think they're rich bring the gifts to you. I recall an experience I had once, a student who tried to bribe me and send things, foodstuffs and stuff through another person. I said, okay, fine, keep it here. Everything you've sent, I don't even need, but keep it. I brought down the scripts, took that student's script, marked it, gave a failure, and then tied the script and kept, because I wasn't ready to touch the script yet. Eventually, when the marks were pasted and he saw he failed, he felt so bad he didn't greet me for 2 weeks. And eventually he recollected himself and said, now, madam, I know you want us to go and read. I will start reading. I said, now you're talking. I've had several experiences like that until he knew that I don't hate him. But yes. Go and work.
Yes, yes.
Go and work. Do your work. And at the end of the day, they are appreciative. By the time they now are happy, they've learned something. Yeah. They are going out with something. It's not money speaking. You don't need this.
Yeah.
You don't. But when you've made it obvious, you're even ready to bribe. And a weak person can succumb to the temptation and take the money. Everybody can be equally strong over that.
Of course.
That's one thing we must mention. Everybody cannot resist. The young girls, how do they dress to class? You dress in such an insane manner to attract attention of your teacher. And then you say sexual harassment. It should be both ways. Sexual harassment is never one-sided most of the time. These girls go out of their way to ask for it sometimes. And then the man succumbs in temptation. Then you blame only him. So we must address it both ways, or look at each specific case as to what triggers it. But it's not in all cases it's the lecturer's fault. We must mention that. Just as not in all cases it's the student's fault. But we stand at a higher pedestal as a teacher to resist and to put these students, teach them what they should know. We are like their parents in school. So the measure with which you deal with a student is not the same measure with which you deal with a staff who succumbs to that kind of temptation. Because we should be held by higher moral standard. The word teacher is a very strong word. It shows somebody at a pedestal giving a helping hand to another person lower. So you can't fall. Otherwise, you can't lift. And I think that is the key to it, Yeah. Lecturers should be, the universities in a way, short-term measure, should create the opportunity for students who are oppressed in that manner to make a report without fear of being, targeted by anybody. It is very important. It should create that avenue so they can make their reports and get the necessary protection. I've always told all my students, if you have such a problem, I'm here for you. I'll take up your case and I'll fight it. I've done it in the past and I'll do it again. The students belong to us as parents here. Their parents are not around, so we are the parents in school. Recently, I was called by a young man who said they were put into the cell by police and stuff. He had to come to me, sent a telephone message. I wrote, immediately I took over, calling every necessary help to get him out. Because as far as I'm concerned, we are the parents here. Okay? So.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you, because the issue is, mostly when it comes to this sex for grade stuff, I think that was a few weeks ago, a professor in University of Calabar, exactly. And then I think in Unizik, there was this professor that was sleeping with this girl, and the girl got married. So they wanted to get married, got engaged, and he wanted to keep on sleeping with her, but the girl said no, and because of that, he failed her. Apparently, he went to the panel, and the man is still the lecturer up to today in Unizik. I don't know if that's true, but I heard from a proper source that was. I don't think it's Department of Politics, but I think it's one department in Unizik. So I don't think you may know it, but it's a broad.
I've been reading Unizik, taking measures against sexual harassment, but I've never gotten into the detail as of now. So I'm not conversant with the case you're talking about. But one thing I'm sure of is that students should be bold enough to make a report or confide in a staff you trust who can take up your case and fight it.
Yes.
Most people doing that, are cowards.
Yes.
They are cowards. Once they know another person is involved, they run. And are you able to stand them? They will run. It's only cowards that will force a girl to sleep before it's obscene. I don't know how. It's evil. Because you are destroying that girl for life. I talked to some of my younger colleagues. I said, please, there are more than 50% who wants to go with you. Go with those ones. The ones that said, I don't want, leave them alone. In this entire university, there are so many females. Why is it that one in your class that you must go for? Leave them alone. If I catch you myself, I'll take up the matter myself, as if that girl is my child. So the students should bolden up
Yes.
and make reports. The problem is that some of them die in silence. They are afraid, that these lecturers will connive
fear of
on everybody.
reprisal.
It is not true. Many of us are ready to come out for it. Even the vice chancellor said the other day that he's even ready to put cameras in offices. But that camera in offices may not even solve the matter because they can go outside.
They meet in hotels
and
stuff.
so on. But then the students should be bold enough. They should be bold enough and make reports. Lecturers should be suspended, dealt with, demoted, whatever. There's even a Nigerian law against such harassment.
Of course, of course.
Police should take up the case,
Yeah.
so that people could have confidence that once they're inside the university, they're protected. That level of feeling and confidence. I was in the university for how many years? I've never had, as a student, I never had entertained that fear. None of my lecturers did. In fact, I saw them as fathers. And up to today, I visit some of them. They are aged now, and I visit them. Visit their wives, some of them that are late. Because they took me like their own children. So why wouldn't you do the same for other people's children?
Yeah.
So I think I think ASU as a body should also do some home, reflection and find ways of sanctioning their own members who indulge in such acts. Because some of us may know some of our own who are involved, but you don't want to. It's not your duty to. But I think it's time we also get involved as a body, as a professional body, to sanction anybody who, is caught getting involved with students.
Yeah.
Or sorting marks, as they call it in the university. Because that also is rising again in UNIZIC.
Of course.
The idea of purchasing marks.
Yeah.
And it's a sad situation.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you, because most times, obviously, because of my position in UNIZIC before, most people, they reach out to me and there's really nothing much I can do. But I really hope that with what you're saying now, they can listen to this and be like, not just in UNIZIC, students all over Nigeria and all over Africa. They can listen to this and be like, you're right, she's right. We need to speak up more. We need to not be afraid. We need to be unafraid. We need to be confident enough that there is one or two persons out there who can stand up for us. I think that's what is refreshing to hear you say that, because at least coming from your position,
yes.
they can look at you and be like, okay, she's a lecturer, she's a senior lecturer in UNIZIC, and she's saying these things, and they can be like, wow, it's possible that there can be a change somewhere, there can be a turnaround somewhere for them. So yeah, no,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
I do. No, thank you for that. I want to talk about your story. I don't know if this is true, but a friend of I had it in UNIZIC a couple of years ago, and you mentioned it earlier about you not getting your PhD, and I had this rumor that it had to do with your supervisor. And,
No.
Okay, the point was not as per what we're talking about, but as per you're very how will I put it now? Because of your strict and your uncompromising nature, it was difficult for you to
maneuver.
Yeah.
No, it's not true.
Because normally,
my first supervisor was my very good friend, Miriam Ikejiani, and she died. And the next one, Professor Ezan, is my friend.
Okay.
In fact, if not, I told you what happened. I finished this just to defend the project, and then my system crashed, and I lost almost all the data.
Yeah.
Trying to recover them and put them together again. And then even Ezan himself was feeling bad because he felt I discommunicated. But I just told him, look at what happened, and I don't want to cut corners to just do it anyhow.
Yes.
So obviously I've started rearranging the ones I have and making up. The supervisors have nothing whatsoever. Okay. In fact, they feel bad that I've not come up.
Yeah, and I'm happy you said that,
because I'm not. I know my area.
Yeah.
So it's not as if nobody. They're all my friends.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing. In fact,
glad,
the standard is the one set by me. If anybody is holding me, I'm the one holding myself. If you ask me, okay, I hope you understand.
No, of course,
the fact that I'm presently looking after my aged who will
yes,
soon become 98 years,
wow, congrats.
has not been very easy
Yeah.
running two homes, running between Awka and Onitsha all the time.
Yeah.
But that's settled. I think
Yeah.
there's no cause for alarm.
No, I mean, I'm glad you dispelled that notion because I was like,
No.
wow, because I
The
obviously I know
supervisors,
your intelligence
the
is
supervisors have nothing to do with it at
Okay.
all. Nothing.
Yeah.
The entire staff of UNN are my friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, let me switch gears and talk about the last election that happened, both presidential and governorship election. As a political scientist yourself, what would be your assessment of this last election?
Very, very, how do I put it? One election that divided Nigeria, and everybody is blaming INEC. What will I say? Impression, I think INEC did well, to the best of their ability. The INEC chairman is not everywhere. Most people conducting the election are people like us, people from the universities and so on, and from other areas who go to conduct. But the politicians are not easy to deal with. So also the electorates. Let's talk about vote buying. The last election, I set out asking most of my ex-students in the various polling units to check out what is happening there for purposes, academic purposes. Will you believe in that in some places, some voters refuse to vote except someone buys their vote? They refuse to. They are looking for someone to sell their votes for anything. Most times we blame the politicians, but what of the voters themselves, the people themselves?
The citizens, yes.
The citizens. And then in terms of, I think the election was, to the best of my knowledge, free and fair. I voted at Biafra polling unit. We queued up. People were taking their time. We all voted. Results were called. But I think the controversial area is whether INEC was able to upload results or not upload results. INEC must have their reasons. That day, I know I was monitoring the election from all over with my friends who were in monitoring teams. And some results were being posted on our faculty platform. And when I sent it to her, I said, this is not from INEC. So where were they getting them from? I think there was a lot of tampering. She told me at that point that the server was down for some reasons. Probably Nigeria, us, some people may have attempted to hack in, and INEC had to do the needful to pull it down. Yakub has been in INEC even when Jeka was there. And I know most of the problems we had while running election is the one we report to. And he does the needful. So, he was seated in the situation room with journalists, and so how could he have stayed there to change results in various polling units to favor a particular candidate? I don't think that's what happened. But in Nigeria, once you've made up your mind, this person is popular, he should have won, or he should win, then you just seal up any other argument about whether the other person would have won or not. The IPOB supporters believed he won. Atiku supporters believed he won. Tinubu supporters believed he won. So only INEC can tell you who won from the result they presented. And that's the and the way the emotions attached to it have even affected the judiciary.
Yes.
The emotions, people don't believe judges anymore, even when they have not done anything. When a friend reached out to me over the eyes on the judiciary thing, I told him my father is a lawyer, and I know that in the days of his friends in the bench, that thing could have fetched them contempt of court. Because that's a form of pressure on the judiciary. What do you mean by all eyes on the judiciary? If we want to get things right, let everybody start changing himself. Do right what you're doing wrong. Many of us are doing things wrong, even in the university where we are. And we're expecting some form of, one bishop said it, you aid your child from malpractice and yet you're expecting INEC to be perfect.
Doesn't work.
It's all the same thing. These are people from the same society. The judges are made from people who they are raised the way you are raised, who is also doing wrong in your own area. Leave them to do the things, as they understood it. Don't mount unnecessary pressures. Only INEC can determine who won from the results they presented. So the idea of, sending threats and doing all kinds of caricature with the INEC chairman, the thing pained me to the bone marrow. Because there's no way he could sit on that chair and was manipulating. How could that be? When every party has an agent, you finish, you take away your own result. In fact, before they even announce, you already know you're standing. And sometimes as a collator, there's not much, even if you notice something happened in the result, as a collator, which I've worked as, there's nothing you can do. People is at the polling unit, it all happens. Except there's obvious cases that allows you to cancel. If none, you can only add up what is on the paper and announce. And then tell the parties that lost, if you are not satisfied, go to what? To court to challenge it with what you have. That's why every party that contests the election must have a genuine party agent at the polling unit. That is the power, the seat of power in any election, polling unit. But some of them don't take the polling unit seriously. At the polling unit, they finish, they give you your own copy of the result. So you go to your own situation room and know you're standing. I was expecting the litigants, not asking INEC to give them results. You should have the results. That is the truth of the matter. Because you came with you have an agent who should give you a copy of what he collected. So you are summing up as INEC is summing up. So if INEC brought something, he said, but this is what we got. The discrepancy will be obvious. But you now ask the person you said I give you the win to now give you the result with which you could challenge what he announced. I don't know how that works.
It makes no sense.
As a political science, it doesn't make sense to me. I want to be removed from it all, remove all emotions and look at things objectively as an analyst can. It's the same INEC, you are asking for a result which it has already announced and you say you don't believe it. You're now asking him to give you the same result with which to go to court to challenge what he announced. Does it make sense? It doesn't. So the litigants should have their party agents collect, but most of them didn't. I think that's where their problem started.
I mean, I'm not surprised you're speaking this way because I've always admired your objectivity. Because unlike obedience, who are very emotional,
don't win an election with emotion.
I always say that to them. In politics, emotions don't count at all. You cannot be emotional with politics. You have to look at it. It
doesn't bring votes either.
It doesn't. It's all about strategy. It's all about objectivity. Okay, like you said, the polling units. That's the critical aspect.
That's the critical
aspect. At that local ward level, that polling unit. And like you said, how can you tell INEC to give you a result? Your polling agent should know. And that's the issue with LP is that because it's not a new party, it's been there, but as new as per to gain the kind of amount of following they got, they didn't have those agents all over the 774 local governments. PDP has it, APC has it. And that's the point of structure. That's what structure.
My information is that LP had no agent in 62% of the polling units. If that information is correct, then what were they expecting?
Wow.
That's the information I got. That LP lacked agent in 62%.
Wow.
In fact, when I got that information, I communicated to a friend on WhatsApp. I said, you are an emotional LP supporter. Why don't you make yourself an agent in one of these polling units? And he said, you want to kill me. And we ended that discussion. But the point is, it is at the polling unit that things happen.
Yes.
I've been part of the election process when Jega was there. And I know it is at the polling unit. As a collator, you have very little to add. You just sum up what was given to you. And then the next level, sum up again. The next level, sum up. That's all. But the main thing is at the polling unit. They are the one that accredit, they are the one that will stamp, they are the one that counts the vote. So if you don't get it right there, as a party, you must ensure you have an agent looking out for you at the polling station. That's the first port of call. You miss it there, you miss it everywhere.
Yeah. But why don't they get it though? Because when you try to explain to obedience, they don't get it.
The politicians, forget those people may not know. Everything is the politicians themselves know.
Yeah, but yes, the politicians know, and that's the whole irony of this. The guy you're fighting for, P2B, knows these things. He's not ignorant.
Have you ever
he's not
seen
naive.
Comment? He's enjoying the popularity.
Yeah, but
if
that's
he
so
comments,
wrong.
they may start even attacking him.
Yeah, but that's so wrong because your followers should know the truth. At the polling unit, that's where it matters. So all those guys tweeting and all those guys bullying online, why not, like you said, volunteer yourself, go to your polling unit and be the LP agent? But like you said,
You'd be surprised that some of them didn't even vote. The turnout
was the lowest turnout.
I used to talk to students. I said, do you listen to Obama sometimes tell his supporters, don't boo, vote?
Exactly.
Booing does not bring results. What brings results is what? Voting.
Yes.
Go and vote. Don't boo, vote. But you think that by calling people names, you are going to win an election? Means nothing.
Exactly.
It means nothing. And then the politicians should also learn to map their strategy. That you're popular in one place does not mean you'll be popular all over the place. That's the truth of the matter. You concentrate your effort at campaigns where you think your votes will come from.
Yes.
That's how sensible politicians do it. Someone told me about that in 2015 at the National Assembly where I was doing my research. And the person mapped out and said, if this election is conducted today, Buhari will carry it. I said, how? He just said, this place is Buhari stronghold. This place is Buhari stronghold. This place is Buhari. This place will share it. He said, who wins? I said, if it happens like that, Buhari wins. And that's exactly how it happened.
Code strategy.
And in that case, they do their campaign on their strongholds and collect the votes there. Knowing that even if they sleep here and die here, they will not get much.
Yeah.
That's the way, they now do a kind of strategic...
Of course, that's what it should be.
...mapping of the votes and the area where it will come from.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same strategy that the Tinubu campaign used.
Of course.
Even in terms of the Muslim ticket.
Yes.
Even though I have no problem with any religion, even if you pack everybody and put in one, I have no problem because it does not mean anything. If we all of us are children of God, it does not matter which one you profess. But the point is that he has made up his mind. If PDP presents a Muslim ticket, do I stand a big chance with a Christian deputy? Knowing that the North does not consider the Southwest Muslims as strong as the Northern Muslims, with a Christian wife for that matter. So he strategically chose a Muslim partner, not to, belittle Christians, but to win his votes. So they will have confidence in him and vote for him. Detached, you see that's what he did.
You're right, 100%.
That's what he did.
I agree, yeah.
But people used it, Muslim, as if it means so much. Governance in Nigeria, I hope that Tinubu may, if he wins his, should do something about bringing power back to the states and the local governments.
Yes.
Because that is the seat of, that will drive development.
Yes.
Not Abuja, everybody looking up at Abuja is too far.
Exactly.
The man on the real seat is the governor, and then the local government councillors and chairmen.
Yes.
Those are the ones that will drive development. More money should be sent to the states and to the local government. The center should just be an enabler.
Yes.
And that's why people like me, if we really want to douse ethnicity, the ethnic embers in Nigeria, we must start thinking of a constitutional type of democracy. The collegial executive, as the Swiss will call it. Let each, today we'll call it geographical zones or something. Bring one person. They form a collegial executive. Chairman rotates. So make it a 6-year tenure. Every year, another one geographical zone assumes chairman of the executive. So no longer Igbos are being marginalized. Southwesterners are being marginalized. Everybody is now there.
Yes.
Whoever you give us, we take. So Southeast, elect somebody to go to the executive office. Southwest, give us somebody. Northeast, give us somebody, and so on. Then form a collegial executive and give them mutual veto. So they must agree, come on consensus before any policy. So without issue of Igbos and Yorubas, today is Northerners are being marginalized. Of course, in Nigeria, you know that once you start shouting you're marginalized, you get more.
Exactly. No, I do agree with him. For me, when it comes to Nigeria, on the macro level, I've signed out. I think, like you rightly said, when you look at it at that bigger level, it's so depressing. It's not, you can't solve Nigeria at that macro level. The best way to solve Nigeria is look at the 36 states of Nigeria. At that local level, your councillors, your state house of assembly members, your governors.
More power should go.
Exactly. And you're right in the sense that if Tinubu does what he does, and I think the first set of things he did was electricity has been put back to the states. So state governments now can determine how, I think prisons was done under Buhari as well, but other things. So you're right. If the more power should flow down, the bottom up is the best way to solve Nigeria, not top down. So I do agree.
If you look at it in the First Republic, there was more power. That's why Ahmadu Bello refused to go to the center and send Balewa, because the regions were the seat of power. But with the military rule and the centralization that came with it, everything is now Abuja. To the point where now someone who voted in Abuja is more superior than me that voted in Awka. It does not make sense. That's what they're trying to say. If you voted in Abuja, your vote counts more than the person who voted somewhere else. So you must win Abuja to become president. Does not. The most stupid thing I've ever heard, actually. So I said, okay, if a governor wins all the local government, didn't win Awka town, he cannot be governor. Because transfer it to something else. That's what it means.
It makes no sense.
It does not make sense. Say the constitution was just being overly generous and said, okay, if Abuja, you won Abuja, and that is what will enable you cross over. Oh yeah, you can also win Abuja. And also FCT. Otherwise, FCT is merely a territory. It's not a state. But the generosity of the constitution enabled it to be added. If that you've won everything, just one state will, okay, let's add FCT for you. And now people are saying you must win FCT. It does not make sense. Because you're now giving votes in FCT, added weight, more than votes states anywhere else. And I think the lawyers know, but you gamble. Sometimes in law, you gamble if that will enable you.
Yeah, because of course,
enable you get what you want.
I must believe they must know the truth.
They do. I think they do. Onyechikpa knows. If nobody knows, I know Onyechikpa knows. But this is a case you want to win. So whatever works. My sister will say the best medicine is the one that works. So in law also, the best argument is the one that sails you through. So
I mean, talking about these tribunal judgments, do you think the constitution should have been a bit more clearer? Because, like you rightly said, it was being a bit more generous. But do you think they would have worded it in a way where
that's where the judiciary comes in. There's
to
no
interpret-
perfect constitution anywhere. Even in the United States, that's where the judiciary comes in to interpret. That's what we call judicial review. They continue to review the intentions of the constitution makers. Okay? So it becomes judicial precedents and law, judicial law, kind of. That's the work of the judiciary. To now interpret the constitution in a way that it becomes understandable to the common person. And that's where their work comes in. It has always been part of law anywhere in the world. There's no perfect constitution anywhere. United States Constitution has not been going through several amendments. Most of the amendments has come through judicial review.
Yeah.
Okay? And when they say the judiciary is partisan, it's even in the US that you even find more partisan, because you know how a judge will think depending on who appoints him.
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
But we have so degraded to the point where we make mockery of the judiciary, and that is very sad. Yesterday, someone was reviewing their salary in a TVC journalist hangout, and I'm shocked to know that they don't earn much. Insulated from society, because that's the way they are. You insulate them from society to make sure they are not tainted. But you give them peanuts as salary, and you want them to be above board, you're not serious. You're not serious. No judge should earn less than 1 million a month. If these senators and the House of Reps members are earning more than that, no judge, not even a magistrate. Because half of the time, their eyes are steeped in books, reading. They have no social life. We must consider that. They don't attend weddings and things the way we do. So they don't mix with people and get tainted. They're so insulated from society. And then you give them peanuts. And you do something for them, or you think you're doing something big wonder. You gave them a car. So we should, anywhere you keep your thing, it's the way you respect it is the way other people will respect.
Of course.
We have so meddled them down, spoke so lowly about them, and the way we throw their names all over the place, put pictures on social media for people to make caricatures of. For goodness sake, that is so, so wrong. It is so, so wrong. Even if the judgment does not suit you, it does not qualify for you to make a caricature of people in the bench like that. Probably because I'm from a Lego family.
No,
I have my emotions maybe biased, but then the way I was brought up, it is wrong.
No, I do agree.
Those that posted those, I told them, early days of Oputa JC, them, you do that, you go to jail. They will correct you the right way. In every aspect of our society, we find corrupt people, not only judiciary.
Yes.
In the university, there are so many. In the hospitals, there are people. In the primary school, we are talking about standard of education and so on. Why our young boys are no longer creative? What do you think of children in the primary school, rather than teaching them handcrafts, as we all did, that asked to bring toilet rolls, soap and stuff, which teachers share? I don't know whether you get the point. That's how it starts.
Of course.
Chinese children, they try to compare with our doing things creative. Then our own people, rather than give them crafts, which we all did in primary school, they're asked to bring toilet roll, to bring soap, to bring... Then the teachers sit down and share it and go home, and then give them score. So that's where the sorting we are talking about started.
Yes.
You're not driving the imagination of the young ones.
No
I keep
creativity.
telling the students, none of you is created a dunce. If you're not passing political science, you don't like the course. Because if you like the course, you do more than even me teaching you. If you know what your interest is, go and study it. Don't force yourself to study something you don't like. That's why you are given a book, you shout, it is too big. Put them something to read. Oh, this woman is bringing too much to read. And then one of them went to India recently to do a postgraduate course. And said, Auntie, oh, I didn't know. In fact, what you are giving us is a child's play to what we were asked to read.
Yeah, I can say firsthand. You
I
must
said,
read.
so we are trying to train you on international best practices. You were complaining. Now you've now seen. Yeah. He said that one, what you gave us in the entire course is what we read for one lecture. I said, fine.
Yes.
That is so beautiful.
I can attest to
you
it.
are now learning.
Yes.
I was training you. My professor Nkoli will tell you, the more you read, the faster you become.
Yes.
Say, so read. So your eyes movement will be faster, your brain will be faster. You'll be given a textbook today that looks so big. Because you are now reading, before you know it, you've thrown it off and collected another one. Yeah. But if you don't attempt that textbook 3 months, you haven't finished it. I say it's a trick. They will say, you see someone who has been learning to type. You pick A, then you look for B. One who has mastered the keyboard will be talking and be type. It's the same thing. So let the children start from that. And that's why I'm very strict with students who are of education background. Where I will pass another person, the one who is going to get into the classroom, I'll be harsher. Because he's the one that will teach tomorrow. So you don't want him to pass some nonsense information to younger people. Education faculty here complains about our scores sometimes. Oh, we fail their students. I say because they will be future teachers. So they need to get it right.
Now, I can attest to the fact that in the UK, man, like, you read textbooks, you read journal articles, you read the essential reading, because they always tell you that this is essential, and it's like 3 or 4 books you have to read, and then they now have recommended reading.
And the library is good.
Oh man, like the library is massive.
You were at the University of Hull.
Oh yes,
I was there once for a conference, so I know what.
24 hours, 24/7 is always open. I was always there because, man, you have to quote so many articles on your S, and if you don't quote so many, you're not gonna pass. Because that's how you gonna show that you read the articles.
The human brain can accommodate a lot.
Yes.
And those things you read, the day you need the information, it will just come out from nowhere.
Naturally, yes.
And you're writing, you say, no, I read, sure, must have mentioned it.
Yes.
You see it. And, it fits in because you've read it. Yeah. But if you have not read it, how do you know Shaw mentioned it? You wouldn't know. But this copying tendency that has developed now amongst the younger, it's worrying me. Someone brought a project. Normally, I will read. I don't, ask you to without reading it. Yeah. And I said, when did you read all these literatures? I want to see some of them. He said, I didn't read them. I said, so how did you quote things you didn't read? You copied it. Knowing that she's been caught, she said yes. I said, I'll feel better if you read only 5 of them and reviewed only 5 than copying what somebody. He said, one is that I've already gone through some of the literature. I went straight to the and downloaded the literature. I said, what you said the man said is not what he said. And this is a result of copying. Because the person you copied from is also wrong. Yeah. And because you did not read it, you don't even know whether it's right or wrong. I have the book already. See, if you can't write on this topic, look for something else that you are comfortable with. But this copying and initially you become a bad person. Your names will float all out, doesn't want students. Others are defending and graduating, does not want, because people's power did not care whether they allow them, let them join others and go.
Shouldn't work that way.
And then tomorrow he's faced with something bigger. He cannot compete because the background is very poor. A colleague called me from somewhere and said he got a master's. He got a master's students from somewhere who didn't know that Shagari was head of state. She was so offended that he started calling some of their lecturers to ask, how did she graduate?
That's
You
crazy.
asked him, okay, sir, what is he? Was he a governor of a state?
That's crazy. That's
I told him that one is fair deal to one I've just read, marking, where someone told me that Lagos is a head of state. That Richard's constitution happened when Lagos became the head of state.
Oh, wait,
Surprisingly, today people were saying I failed them deliberately. I said, then ask for a mark. Yeah. If I live here now and I'm going to answer to that query.
Wow, really?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Really? Is that?
Oh, yes, it's serious.
No. That's because even in university should know better. Like, come on, like anybody that
When
sees-
someone wrote for me that nationalism, I said, define nationalism. These are secondary school questions.
yeah, of course, yeah.
What factors led to nationalist movement in Africa?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
are secondary.
Yeah.
The person wrote nationalism by birth, nationalism by naturalization, nationalism by citizenship. Of course, what do you expect me to score the person? A big zero with some eyes and nose. University student who will be a teacher tomorrow.
Oh man, that just reveals how low the standards have
Standard,
gotten.
and because he went to a special center to get WAEC, then use it and run into the university, probably through CEP, and then expect magic to happen in the exam. It's not going to happen.
Nah.
It cannot happen. You don't know something, you don't know it.
Of course.
You know something, you know it.
Yes.
I ask you elementary things, you fail it.
Yeah.
And then someone is expecting me to give you a big score so that many students would have passed. It will not work.
Of course.
I will defend it anywhere in the world. It will not work. And that's what I'm talking about, the standard we are talking about.
Yes.
If we want to raise the standard. When I was in the university, the last score is C, which is 50. Today it's been made low as 40. And yet someone is not ready to earn the 40. A student makes A, I made A. He makes F, lecturer gave him F. He didn't make it.
Yeah.
So they claim the good one and leave the negative for you.
I mean, I can say firsthand, when I knew that you were really tough was when I was in, I think it was year 3 or year 2 when you taught me. And I saw people that would normally not read.
Okay,
And
working hard.
yeah, I was laughing because we were going to, that was in management. We used to do night reading in management, Faculty of Management Sciences. I was in boys hosted then. So normally we all go to management to read at night. So I turned up to read that night at Faculty of Management Sciences. And people that wouldn't normally read, we all there.
We're all there.
Everybody was reading that for your exam. I was like, really, this just shows you that this you can't mess with you. You can't. You have to either read or you're not gonna pass the course. There's no two ways around it. There are no two ways around it. So
But
like,
aren't you better off with it?
Of course,
The knowledge
of
is
course.
yours
of
forever.
course, like even someone Eke, the one you talked about, primordial. That was one of the things you talked about.
Public, the
yeah,
two
public,
publics.
exactly, two public. Someone Eke, yeah,
The
Eke.
two publics,
yes,
yeah.
two publics, yes. Funny enough, in my class in hall, either hall or something, it came up and I just laughed. I was like, wow, this thing you talked about in Unizik, halfway around the world is being referred to again. And I was like, he just talked to me, that two publics talk to me. I'm like, so it's I mean, for me, it's obvious that
When I attend international conferences, that's when I know we are not actually inferior to the colleagues outside, provided you're reading. When in IPS, I normally host panels. Sometimes I initiate panels, for international conferences. Though the high cost of everything has made it difficult now to attend one, but I initiate panels. And on one occasion, I was to be chairman of a panel that was in IPSA 2014 in Canada. And the professor whose book review that was being, done in that panel was, he had some work he was doing, work in progress review kind of. And so I was the chairman of the panel, and he was trying to set up his laptops and stuff and the, what do you call it, for
the projector.
Yeah. And I now helped him to set it up before others came in. And he said, I don't know how to do these things. My children help me, and so on. Thank you for coming to my aid. So after the entire, process, and he was leaving, he said, please help me thank this lady. She was the one that put up all these things, So when I left, and several other experiences, it dawned on me we are not actually inferior to.
Yes.
It's just that most of the time we don't have the necessary things to work with. Of
course.
The books, how you know a Nigerian is the number of free books he's carrying from a conference, And I spoke to one of my guys. I said, once you see anybody with big load of books because of the free books, know that he came from Nigeria. He said, is that bad? I say, yes, it is. True. And they say, any article you need, just let us know. We'll download it for you. Yes. This is one thing they gain there we don't have here.
100%.
You open a journal, you have to pay. Because the university have not paid, you can't download. Over there, the university pays, you just download.
It's free, yes.
Here you have to pay for it to download. I even learned a very ingenious way of getting information. I go to the Google Books. There's a way they put up some pages for you to go through. I use those pages, copy out the relevant. They blank out some.
Yes,
but
exactly.
if I'm lucky and what I'm looking for is within I now copy.
You can always tell me, I can help you as
well. Now
you
can, and a good number. I have another person now at University of Manchester, an ex-student of mine in CEP that also graduated from here. Is now at University of Manchester. So I have several people, and my IPSA people, they do help me. But the point I'm making is, you don't have that latitude here to just download information. Sometimes you're dealing with an old information that has been handled in another book, and you don't even know about it because you don't have access. But even at that, we are doing well to the best of our ability. And these are the areas I think the government can be of assistance in shoring up the level of library.
Yes.
Let them help us improve our library facility. Under PTF, they did something then. The Petroleum Trust Fund, in bringing books and equipping libraries, they should start repeating it again. Our libraries are very poor. Yes, internet is helping, but you have to pay for it. And we lack the money to do so. A professor is not earning up to £500 a month. So how can he cope? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do,
paying for national, professional bodies, paying for that,
all
going
these
for
are free abroad.
Most of these things are free abroad.
Yes.
But we don't have them here.
Free Wi-Fi, anything in the university background.
I know now. I went to a conference at University of Success. Immediately I came in, we had to lodge there. They gave us our Wi-Fi. They gave us,
fast,
even the student hostel was so comfortable. You thought we were in a hotel. So these are the things we lack here. The thing MTN will roll and roll and roll, and he said, when will this finish opening? You go to bed before it opens.
But sometimes even download is too big for your MB, so you can't download what you need to download.
You can download.
Those things are sometimes big files, big pages that you need to read. No, I do agree. I think it's a priority for any government to focus on education, because that's where it all starts.
Equip the libraries.
Yes.
Both digital and hard copies, and then leave the rest to us. We are not inferior. It's just that we are handicapped. And that's what I want, to get out fast, and let the students, as we said, let the students beef up by having courage to report things they don't like. If I marked your script, you don't like what you scored, come. I'll show you what you wrote.
Yes.
Compare your own with the person who scored better. Mark yourself. In fact, there was a time, if we had the time, we've been rushing semesters. I give a quiz. I mark it, or I give to them and said give it to them and said, mark yourself. These are the answers. Mark it yourself. So score yourself.
They did that in hall as well for us. They gave us a first class essay, a second class essay, and asked us to look at it and tell us and separate the differences. And you could see that this one was first class, 70 plus. This was second class. This was obviously third class, like a failure. So
so mark yourself. Sometimes when we were fewer, I used to do the seminar type of lecture, share topics.
That's the best one.
And then allow them to discuss, and we all see, and then we score. But time and large number does not allow that anymore. So.
I really love that in the UK. They call it workshops. So we have our lecture where you can ask questions, but it's always like lecture just always talking. Then within the week we have workshops. So lecturer just sits down and you just talk with him. And I love that. You just bounce off ideas. And it was like, because in Nigeria it's different. The lecturer is like a god in Nigeria. You can't ask him any questions. You can't critique him. But in the UK, you are like, he just sat over there. And I remember the first time it happened, I was like, wow. Like, he's just there. I can ask him questions. Other people are asking him.
And they're not bothered about titles.
Not at all.
I'm John.
Exactly.
And you are. I said, can I Google? You have seen that in conferences. And when you go and Google John, you now know him by the works he has produced.
Yes.
I'm aware. If there's anything I think I'm proud of, when things were good, I had a lot of experiences going around on international conferences, in various parts of the world. And that opened my eyes and my horizon to how things are done outside. And, sometimes I equally look at their lecture, whatever, to see what are the best practices. That's why I started list of books.
Yes.
That's when I started that on the list of books. So you can get them and read them ahead of the class. And to force students now, I removed note giving. This is the necessary text. Even if it's not available, I'll make myself my own available for photocopy. Read it yourself and get something out of it.
You did it for us. I had to buy
I remember your mom had to said, what have I done to you? This boy will not allow me rest. I remember that.
I had to buy some of the books you recommended. And I still have that book up to today. I just find
I showed them mine. I said, at UNN, we are not rich then. Things have always been hard in Nigeria. It has not been, bazaar before. We go to the bookshop. We see a book you like. You can't afford it. You go to the salesperson and say, please, it's not enough. I put some money, you keep the book. I'll bring the remaining next week. And they keep the book for you. They bring the balance they give you. Say, look at mine. Claude Aki, you can see 1981.
Claude Aki, yes, that's it. Yeah, sorry.
1982.
Claude
so
Aki,
I didn't get them today.
Yes, I made a
I got them as students because for people like Professor Nnoli and Co., you must read them.
Yes, Claude Aki.
It's not a question of regurgitating.
Yes.
Professor Nkoli will even give you his questions 1 week ahead of time to go and practice and come for the exam. And yet people fail. People fail.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And he has no apology for that. He said, go and work hard.
Yeah.
Then today people want me to dash marks so that I'll look good before students. I don't need to look good. I want them to learn.
Yeah.
I can't dash it to you. Learn it.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that I'm too hard. I can't add. Like the last exam, I even added bonus questions. So if you finish and you get the bonus, it becomes an added bonus.
Yeah, I think
some people will see it differently. Yeah, you're being weak. I'm not being wicked.
No, you're not. I mean,
I'm just helping the students.
Yeah, that's the best, because trust me, like, to the listener out there, when you go abroad and you see how it works, you'll be grateful, honestly, because I wish people understood how it works outside Nigeria, and those best practices are being kept to and they're being adhered to. And if you don't adhere to them, you'll be left behind. People will just move on because over there, Western societies, all these good countries and great countries, you have to be the best. And lecturers like yourself are always pushing those best practices for the students to learn from, and that's the only way.
There's no doubt about that. You have to push people to get out the strength they have within them that they don't know they have. Because some of them are brilliant. I remember joining Unizik in the 90s, and a particular student was always looking for where to copy from. I called her, I said, do you know you're brilliant enough? You don't need this copying thing. He said, you are brilliant. Join these girls that work hard and you see yourself improve. And she changed her company. Before she knew it, she started making A's. She said, Auntie, I didn't know I was brilliant too. I'll never give anybody money again to pass. I said, there you are. She started making A's. She eventually graduated, went and read law.
Wow.
I don't know whether you get the point.
Yes.
So you help them to get out the strength they don't know they have. Don't make them lazy. Because some of them didn't know that they have that strength within them. They are just following the crowd. But you force them now to get out the strength by pushing them. And so actually I can do this. Yes, you can. But when you are doing it initially, you look wicked.
Yes.
But eventually they turn around. I've received several messages on my Facebook Messenger and so on. Oh, I graduated from political science. I used to see you as a wicked person, but today I've changed all that about you. You are, in fact, those things you were talking to us about, today I'm now experiencing it. I said, sorry, I didn't even know you saw me as wicked. I was just doing my job. So,
yeah.
So that's life. If everybody agrees with you, then you are not abnormal.
Of course.
If you're doing the right thing, you should expect that people will criticize you. You should expect that some people will agree with you and so on. But if you're on the right road, march on.
Yeah.
That's my principle in life.
Yeah. Let me touch on Soludo, our governor in Anambra State. I don't know what your thoughts are on him. Like, I think he came in two years ago now. And by next year, he will begin to prepare for re-election again for the second term. So what are your thoughts on Soludo? What do you think so far about him?
Surprisingly, I have never really paid attention as such. But I think he's working hard. Many people feel they are yet to see the output in terms of what Nigerians call democracy dividends.
Yes.
But I think he's facing the road issues squarely in some parts of Anambra. I think he's starting from his home area. They're also trying to manage the issue of refuse disposal. Surprisingly, I learned the young man in charge who graduated from political science in Awka development.
The ACTDA.
Something like that, So, my thoughts, he promised them Dubai in Anambra. I hope he has been facing a lot of criticism because of his political stand over IPOB. But I think that was, people are being childish. He's free to support whoever he likes and so on. Both of them are equally friends, so they know themselves. I don't think we have to do any fight for any of them. But the point is that I think he's facing the road construction, which is one of the major things Anambra need most. Anambra man, according to Ngigeden, said an Anambra man can give himself education, he can give them himself even water, but issue of roads is capital intensive. So I think he should focus on it squarely, and then, But then there is other issues of excessive taxation, which bus drivers and keke drivers have been complaining. I think he should give them a hearing and probably reduce You know, if a young man borrows keke and he has to pay 15,000 or thereabout in a month, I don't know how much is left after paying whoever gave him the keke and what is left for him to feed and so on. He should have a review. I think there is this business model, charge low but get more. If 10 people are to pay 1,000, it's more than 5 people paying 2,000 or something like, you know, paying. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. You reduce it, they pay something lower, but pay willingly, and more people will
in the
pay
long term
than more people dodging and few people paying the high stuff. You notice that you make more money when it's low, because I remember when students were to be paying 500 naira departmental dues, I found out that a large number paying 500 naira is big money.
Yeah.
You know?
Thousands of students paying.
Yes, something they can easily afford to give you and look away, you know, and are happy to pay, you know, and in these days of serious economic hardship for everybody, you make them happier. They will go to bank, willingly pay this money and pay it as and when due, than the one you now force them and they try to dodge. You know, I think that will also give his government a human face. And I spoke to one of them who also is an ex-student. I said, yes, illegal structures, shops and stuff, knocking down, that's fine, giving the city a facelift. But put something in place. You remove something from a child, you give him something in place. I say even in UK, they have what they call street markets.
Yeah, they do.
That rotates.
Yes.
So today I know he's in acting. I go to acting. I say create street markets where those of them who can't afford shops and stuff can go, display their wares. By 5:30 a.m., you clean up. Tomorrow it's in another part of the city. People that don't have shops know that there's a market that is going to come up here. They can put small umbrellas and display their wares, sell. Buyers will also go knowing that a street market is. After that, you clean up. You make money too.
Of course, yes.
But you don't just take away something from someone who has nothing else. In the, you know, guys that you're trying to clean up, give them something in place. You know, while you're removing what they have. You know, but all said and done, I think so far so good. He's facing re-election. Anambra people will decide whether he will go back or not. I'm not the only one that will decide that.
Do you think LP stands a chance? Do you think LP?
Oh, why not? Every politician, he had a chance when they did the House of Assembly thing. People thought that they will all fail the Abga will, but Abga remained resilient. He was able to, you know, garner the votes and pull through. So I think, you know, in politics, people forget easily. If he starts doing what people like and their roads, they see they can now pass the refuse. He has a good chance of winning again.
No, I do agree. Most people have short-term memories when it comes to politics. I want to touch on 2 more topics on this issue of Biafra and IPOB and sit at home. The way I see Biafra for me is an ideology, kind of, in a way, right? IPOB for me is the vehicle to achieve that ideology. I don't know if you see it that way. So it could be MASOB, it could be IPOB. Those are all vehicles for Igbos who want Biafra to get what they want eventually. Biafra for me is always that cause or that idea that we all talk about when we think back of the Civil War and the fact that we believe we are being marginalized in Nigeria. But for me, when I look at IPOB, I believe that the way they've gone about it has been so wrong. Whether it's the guy in Finland, Simon Ekpa, or whether it's what Nnamdi Azikiwe was saying before he got arrested. I don't believe that the use of violence to achieve an aim is the best way to go. I don't believe that asking people to stay at home on a Monday morning. So, for example, I was supposed to come into Anambra on Monday. I couldn't because there was no flight to Anambra State. So, and the billions of naira is being lost, and more importantly, lives are being lost. People are being killed. So, I don't know what you think about it, but I would like to get your thoughts on what's...
I'll just answer that with one sentence. You go and make poison and drink and expect the other person to die. Does that work?
No.
If you drink poison, you die you that drank the poison will die. Monday sets the agenda for any person serious about how do you start sleeping on a Monday.
Yeah.
When others are waking up to go and do something. Then you lie down and say you are doing it so that the other man in Borno or Castina will feel bad about it and then give you what you want. The Biafra that happened was a child of circumstance. The Igbos didn't actually get up wanting Biafra. It was something that generated it. And it ended the way it ended. And then somebody go and rake up some whatever, and then all of a sudden starts agitating that he wants Biafra. For what purpose? What is it that we are not getting that others are getting? That's the truth of the matter. Is it political appointments? Under President Obasanjo, Igbos were disproportionately in control of that government more than any other group of people. Of what benefit was their stay there? How many of them impacted on their own environment when, in fact, the economy then was under the control, the so-called economic team. We had more Igbos there than any other group.
Soludo was
what was the impact? What impact did he have in Southeast? Because they were there. The point I'm trying to make is that some of these things are just used as an instrument for those who are using it to gain what they are gaining. Do you understand? Yes, Biafra happened for some reasons. But even Ojukwu, who declared it, has said it has come to an end. It's time to put that behind us. Why are we resonating it? You could resonate the ideas of inventions that happened with it and use it to propel yourself. Sell your community, sell your state, invest in it, make things happen there. Must you be in Abuja or be in the National Assembly to drive development? You don't have to. If you ask me, Nigerian project favors the Igbo man more than any other ethnic group.
Really?
Oh, yes, because they're the ones all over the place. How many Yorubas do you find in the southeast, vis-a-vis the number of Igbos in the southwest? How many houses of Fulanis are in the southeast, vis-a-vis the number in the north, of the Igbos in the north? That's the truth of the matter. Check in terms of population. How many of our people are over there? So, someone said, he mentioned it as a joke, that if we are giving Biafra, we'll now come into Lagos with a visa. And the young man he was talking to said, well, do you mean it? If that is the case, I don't want it. The point I'm trying to make here is that we can achieve whatever, we can make this area prosperous without the, violence, agitations and stuff. You can drive development here in the southeast. What stops the southeastern governors creating a rail station that will connect the entire southeast? That you can live in Aban, work in a main market on each. That you can live in Anambra and go to work in Ebonyi, and so on. Because part of this fuel issue is because we are all using cars. If Nigeria had gone the way it should go, the entire country should have been connected with rails. That's what drives development in other places. Movement of goods. Dangote cement and whatever won't be falling along the road because you cargo them. Many people in UK don't have cars.
Yes.
And they're happy.
Yes. Yeah.
But because we don't have, everybody is on the road. That's why we are complaining about fuel. Subsidy or not. Many people in UK don't even know where filling stations are. Because they just enter a public bus or they enter a train and go to where they're going. Someone asked me in Netherlands once, we went for a conference, these people don't sleep, you know. I say, why? He said, at every point in time, somebody is coming out from the train.
Yeah.
I said, they went to work.
Yeah. Night shift, day shift.
You could have lived in Onitsha and then go to work in Lagos and come back. That would drive down the price of housing. Because you may not need to leave the house you have somewhere and go to work somewhere and come back. So I think Nigeria actually needs restructuring. Put more power in the state area.
Yes.
As you had in the regions.
Yes.
And then some of these agitations will come down. That's my thinking. I don't think I witnessed the war. It's the worst thing anybody can.
Oh, you witnessed the war?
Oh, yes. I was a child, but I witnessed it.
Wow.
The middle of the night, you're running. This, what they call shelling, it will just be coming. Your parents will just wake you up, cover you with a dark cloth and put a torch in front. And you now follow the footpaths of the bushes inside the village. By the time you get to my uncle's house that has an upstairs, the entire village is there. People trying to shelter. At a point, my parents had to do a bunker in my grandmother's house, which is covered with leaves, with staircase. You enter underneath and stay there. It's a dark room. We stay in there till late in the night. And they say the coast is clear, then we come out. Is that what you wish? Except you experience the war, you won't understand what it is all about. That a whole village runs, and then they enter a town that is not attacked yet. Then all of them, the entire village is sleeping in one school hall. There are portion spaces to them like mat. They put their children and their few luggage in one corner. The parents sit up throughout the night so that their children can sleep. Each family just have a corner. Is that what we wish? And people are busy shouting, we will fight, we will do. Fight what? Fight who? That energy you are spending in trying to fight, put it in inventing things. Put it in creating. Drive development around your area. I was one of the first person that wrote a paper on MASOB. It's online. Yes, equity is necessary. Yeah, but then I don't think the way they're going about it is the best. It's not. On a Monday morning, people are sitting. The other day, they said we shouldn't even come out on Tuesday till after 12. There will be curfew. There will be that one.
Wow.
And many people are getting tired of it. That's why that one did not carry. But as they said, if the way you make your bed is the way you watch, you lie on it. It's the people that will decide that
Exactly.
they're tired of it.
People are scared of speaking up.
If they are tired of staying at home, they will start coming out.
Yeah.
If they are not tired, some said they are even enjoying it. It's becoming a resting day for them. Fine. Let them rest. But the point I'm making is that it's time for reflection for us to see where we are going wrong with a particular something. You don't drink poison and expect another person to die from your own poison. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You want Igbo land to thrive, you know what to do. Invest. Let the governors do the needful. They are giving money to develop their state. Let them develop it. Build things, build roads, put water, put electricity. Not the EEDC type, where they won't give you meter and they give you outrageous bill. There will be confidential. I was telling you about the hotels. So many hotels, but nobody stays in them. Because tourism, there's no tourism. People are not coming in.
Exactly.
Not even our own people.
Yes.
They're not coming. They're afraid to come.
Yeah.
Because of the stories leaving this place. So, we are the ones that will decide enough is enough. We want to do better. Take that ideology and develop.
Yeah.
And the others will even, look out for you. You become the beautiful bride. But to do the way we are doing, I don't think there's a roadmap to success with this kind of situation. There's no roadmap to success. Now we are now derided by other parts of the country. Or you go and sit you want to govern Nigeria, so we'll join you in sitting at home, and so on and so forth. Those are the issues.
No. I never knew you experienced the war. I do agree with everything you said, but on this issue of the Civil War, I want to stay on it a little bit, please, if you don't mind, because I did hear a lot of stories. My dad told me a lot of stories about the war as well, because he experienced the war as well. But your insight kind of reminded me of what he told me as well. But what's other experiences, harrowing experiences did you have that whenever you look back on that, like I see the way you spoke with so much passion about it, like over that topic we talk about today. But on this issue of the Civil War, what other harrowing experience did you have, such that the listener will be like, you know what, this is Biafra 10. Let's tread carefully. We don't want to go back to those days again.
The uncertainty that is associated with war. People who go to the market in the morning, by afternoon there's a raid and many don't come back alive. Some with broken hands, with cut off legs and stuff, because there's a bombing from a plane, from the enemy plane. That children went to school at a point because the schools were taken over, the school buildings were taken over by refugees. Houses of people were used to continue classes. And even in those houses, there is bombing. And people come back with bullet wounds, with that. It's harrowing. At a point, they have to close everywhere. Listening to the sound of what they call shelling at night, you are so afraid. And then even from our own side of the soldiers, we didn't have reprieve either. Because my mother was a very energetic farmer. And you see the Biafran soldiers coming to take things by force from us. At a point, my mom had to fight them. Say, you either kill me or you move out. There are no two ways. I have people to feed. They take your cassava, they take your things by force. Your own people, your own soldiers. Probably they're hungry, but taking it by force from their own people. So it's not something you wish your enemy. The worst peace is better than the best war. The uncertainty associated with it. You don't know when, you don't know anything. Can just remember seeing my father sometimes, they tell me they're going for combing. What are they going to comb? Comb bushes to know whether there's an enemy around in the middle of the night.
Wow.
And with a knife. That's very funny, isn't it?
Wow.
And they come by and say, coast is clear. And then a few minutes you're sleeping. There's a shelling sound or something. You're woken up. It's not walk in the park, except you witness it.
Yeah, many people are alive now.
And then not to talk of what hunger did, because there was not much access to food. By the time I was 3, I already have a garden. We were taught how to cultivate. My mom would say, oh, yeah, go and plant corn, go and do this. She kind of foresaw the war because she lost a brother in Bauchi. Their eldest brother was killed in Bauchi during the program. All those books are with me. That's when people start talking. I said, we experienced it. We lost people. So my parents were buying anything around, publications, to know whether we have a clue of what happened to my mom's brother. Because he was a forestry officer in Bauchi. Tall, dark, looks like a northerner. Speaks Hausa fluently. But he was killed in the program. So if there is a family that lost something, we lost something. So my mom started making I said she feels strongly that there will be a war, and started taking things home. By the time we knew it, she took us home too. And by the time Onitsha fell, we were already at home. In fact, that day she was at Onitsha, and then they broke the Niger Bridge. But herself and the cousin that went to the market, both of them came back differently. Because everybody was running. That was the day they, destroyed the Niger Bridge.
Kind of content is not content that you see people talk about a lot. I'm happy to.
People are afraid.
Yeah, it's not all about having
nothing beats experience.
Yes.
Unless you experience something.
Yes.
It will be like, well, you read about this. It's not the same thing as what you went through.
Exactly.
You can't compare.
Yeah.
The uncertainty associated with that war, nobody will wish it on his neighbor. That's when the Niger thing and the ECOWAS said, I said, let's wait first.
Yes.
Use every other thing, but war, no way.
Yes.
It's not the best. You may achieve your aim, but the after effects will remain.
Yes.
People who
consequences.
Will lose their breadwinners, people who will be maimed, and so on. The psychological impact on the young ones is not something you wish your neighbor. People in Ukraine will tell you,
of course,
too,
yes.
It's not a walk in the park.
Of course.
Even if the entire world supports you. And in the Biafran case, they didn't even have that support.
Yeah.
So it was difficult. Life was difficult. I was telling the students, I said, a situation where there was no lizard around because lizard was precious meat.
Wow.
That will tell you what it was like. Where people were ready to eat anything. Salt was so highly priced because there was no salt. Now, many people were getting their salt from a Red Cross distribution fish that is salty. So they get the fish, they wash out the salt on it and put into their soup. That's all where the kwashiorkor thing came from. Absence of salt in meals. So who had salt had a lot. Do you understand?
Yes.
It wasn't easy. That's why when young people are bracing up, I said we sang that song, no more. It wasn't easy. It's sweet when you are singing and shouting. You're full of hope and energy. The real thing is in the doing. And in the doing, it was not an easy stuff.
Of course.
It wasn't.
No, I mean, I really appreciate your insights, honestly. I mean, going to the last question here, you talked about the war the proposed war in Niger. And I just wanted to ask you, seeing the recent coups, I mean, the one that just happened last was Gabon, Burkina Faso, Mali, and I think 7 African countries in the past 2 years alone. One, what do you think are the reasons for these coups? And number 2, do you think that the population who are rejoicing now, do you think they will rejoice for a long time? So, for example, we saw the Nigerians being happy and rejoicing, and that the French, in parentheses, are leaving the country. So do you think they're going to get what they want at the end of the day?
Military rule is a no-go area. It sets any country back. We've had that experience. I keep asking myself, if Nzogu coup didn't happen, where would Nigeria be today? The step towards retrogression started with that coup. Even the war we spoke about started with that coup. The distrust that's surrounding it was engineered by that coup. Probably by now we would have perfected our parliamentary system. We were failing, but we were getting up. But see how the coups took us back What did the military achieve throughout their stay in governance? Nothing. Nothing, except moving us from parliamentary to presidential, which we are not even buoyant enough to the economy is not even buoyant enough to carry. The ones that started, that have gone, the countries that went through the coup recently, what have they achieved since the army took over? That's the question you should be asking. What development have they, made? Without prejudice to what France did in Francophone countries, France didn't do well at all. They did not do well at all. France did not do well. But that notwithstanding, army rule is, for me, is a setback anywhere in the world, especially in Africa. It has never worked. Some people have made the argument that some countries made it through benevolence dictatorship. But as far as Africa is concerned, I've not seen it work.
Yes.
Cutting off alliances with France, we hope they won't go and realign. Or replacing France with Russia does not solve anything.
Yes.
It's time Africa begins to tell themselves some home truths. What you cannot do for yourself, not other person can do it for you.
Yes.
Begin to drive your own development. Work with yourselves. But we are not. That's the big problem. So you expect France to work in your interest when you are not working in your own interest. Or you expect Britain to work in your interest when you are not working. You get money here rather than they put industry here. You go and buy house in Canada, buy house in UK. Did they ask you? Why didn't you use it to develop industry in Nigeria? Even if you stole it. And give people job. Then tomorrow you blame UK for bringing money to their bank, which they also need. But in one word, Africa, grow up. It's time for us to grow up and start looking for whom to blame. Time to look at yourself and see, what am I doing wrong? Oh, they asked you to as head of state and you accepted because it suits you. They didn't put a knife to your neck and say you must.
I would say that, yes.
So time for us to grow up. Know what is in your interest and do it. Oh, this one does not suit us. No, I don't agree. But because we are selfish, if it suits you and they are going to help you steal and so on, you do what they want. But one thing I don't like about military rule is that you're not free to even speak. Mechanism is the barrel of the gun.
Yes.
And we are human beings with free will. We should be free to speak.
Of course.
And speak our mind. But in a military setup, you don't. Even if they do 1,001 things better, I will not approve of a military rule. Soldiers are there to protect us, if need be, not to govern. Plato talked about the philosopher king. He divided society into three: philosopher king, the soldiers, and the artisans.
Yes.
So you fit into one, the man who can lead, the man who is courageous enough to protect. He didn't say the man who is courageous should take over, because he thinks more through his gun than through his head. You need a statesman to carry others along, to argue, to get the best argument and let it win.
Yes.
I keep wondering, if Nigeria did not have that first school,
yes,
where would we have been? It's all left to the imagination.
Yes.
Because the coups happened.
Yeah.
but probably would have been better off. All these rails we are doing now would have done years back. The parliament would have been better. Just check what we have achieved within 1999 till date in terms of infrastructure. Checked what we achieved in infrastructure between 1966 when the coup happened, or even between 1970 after the war, when military was in power, up to 1999. You see that the gap is large.
Yes.
The politicians are stealing, yes. But they try to justify their stay sometime by doing 1 or 2 roads. Under a military government, he owes you nothing. You didn't put him there. You talk, they put you in jail. But this one, at least, you can abuse the politician and he tries to defend himself. You can't abuse a military head of state and without consequences. That's my take on that.
Honestly, man, this was deep. I'm not gonna lie. I really appreciate you for doing this. When I reached out to you, I was a bit like, well, are you gonna agree or not? Because I know this is not something that you always do, but like I said at the beginning, in a sea of mediocrity, you're just excellent. I can't thank you enough for being different, for being exceptional. And I'm not doing it to patronize you. You obviously know what I think about you already. I've said that to people in the past as well, publicly and privately, that you're number one for me, Unizik, and in Africa and in Nigeria. Perhaps second to Professor PLO Lumumba. I said Lumumba for me is number one as per Africanism. But I think I would say you're second to PLO Lumumba. But for me, in Nigeria at least, it's obvious from this. If people listen to this, they will see how critically you analyze issues, which for me is number one thing that we young people need. The ability to look at issues and critique it without any emotions. Like, look at it, forget emotions, just look at this issue as it should be. And you did that in this podcast. And honestly, I'm so grateful. I hope people tune into you. I hope, because this is a new form of discussion. People can watch this on YouTube or Spotify all over the world. And again, I'm so grateful, man. Thank you so much for being the best and just doing what I think for making out the time to do this. I can't thank you enough, man.
I thank you too. And one of these days, you come and speak to some of our students too. Welcome you back.
I'm not allowed in the university for now, but when that time comes, we'll do.
What, really?
Yeah. They said I said I couldn't come back in, but it's okay. But as obvious, like no, I'll come back.
Years, the man has gone now. Which one you did? Come tell them I invited you. Let them now do their worst. Don't worry yourself.
No, I'm just
want
joking.
Some of you to sometimes come to speak to current students so they see what stuff we've been able to produce in the past, because it will be encouraging for them. I told one of my SEP ex-student who is now at Manchester University, I'll link both of you. May do some work together. Sure. He's good too. I said from time to time, come and speak to someone. Yes. I even encourage him to come and work. I say, you can't pay me. He used to be an independent researcher. He did CEP here.
Yes.
And then he went to... He told me he wants to come and do master. He was exceptionally brilliant. So I said, go to Ibadan. So you have something different. And Ibadan has a lot of linkages.
Yes.
He went there. He was doing a master's there. He got this scholarship to go to UK and do another project, master's project. Finished there, came back, started working with all these funding agencies, research groups.
Yes.
And then just recently got this job with the University of Manchester. So he's back to UK. So I'll link both of you do things together.
No, thank you. I can't wait. Like I'm so grateful. Again, I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And hopefully just keep doing your thing, and just know that no matter how anyone sees you out there, lots of people still see you as...
I'm not bothered.
No, of course, I know you aren't bothered.
I used to be a reigning name. Oh, don't go to political science. You cannot tolerate that woman. He will not make you pass. And one of my ex-students is the man who owns Nutri-C.
Okay, yes.
Yes. He said they so put fear into him that he said, but what does this woman do now? That he said, will I reject this admission? Because say, did you? Hey, you are finished. Then they came. He said the first day exam was PSC 122, and there was a change in time. He said, please get into that hall. I'm not going to take it. He said that they said so. This woman doesn't take nonsense. He said, but when he came, in fact, he was expecting an F. And then he got a D. He said, if I made a D, then I can do better. Then what they are saying about this woman is not true.
Yes.
And what happened? He now buckled up. He said they now did 211 political analysis under me. He made an A. He said then the entire story is false. That all this woman needs is go and work hard.
Yes.
And he started working hard. He's the one relating the story to me.
Yes.
And he said when he now started working hard, he became A list, A, B list. And even in other courses, he started doing well. And we are still family friends now till today. As graduated, he's living in Lagos and so on. You know, so the point is the stories will be there.
Of course,
The experience may be different. So if you come and experience me as the wicked soul,
nah, you aren't.
too bad. But you come in, you experience me differently. You know, my sister was once in faculty of law. They used to fear her like that. She didn't care. That family upbringing, steadfast in what you do, honest in what you do, and so on. Once you keep to that, even my father is known in my village for that. And at a point, they gave him a chieftaincy title, because he does not care who is affected. He will tell you the truth, point blank. Do you understand? So with that kind of family foundation, I don't think I can easily change now. It's too late to start changing.
Exactly, there's no point.
It's too late to start changing.
No, thank you so much.
I'm grateful to you too.
No, thank you, Ma'am Deeply. At this point, we'll now end the podcast. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to share. And if you really enjoyed this, please subscribe to the podcast. And thank you for watching, and God bless. Thank you so much.